Hello, and thanks for joining us on Tips for the Transition, the Career Roadmap, where we empower women to navigate significant career changes with confidence and clarity. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan. Each week we share a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of wit, and some wonderful and insightful experts, conversations, creating resources to encourage women to be more confident, resilient, and brave in their career and life choices. We stream live weekly on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time on the E360 TV network, which you can find on your favorite streaming services like Roku and Apple TV and Amazon Fire. And we go live simultaneously on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, where you can interact with us. And if you prefer to listen on the run, we are on all the podcast channels as well. So if something inspires you today and you want more, please subscribe to your favorite channel, leave us a comment, share your favorite episodes, and let's make more ripples in the world for women. So what if the secret to your success lies in mastering the art of personal branding? We're joined by the incredible Amber Renae today, a civil engineer turned serial entrepreneur and TV personality who transformed her career by harnessing the power of personal branding. Amber is Australia's leading voice in online business and has inspired thousands around the globe to discover their wow factor. In this episode, Amber will reveal the secrets behind building a standout personal brand, the importance of creating a signature style, and what it takes to make a lasting impression. We'll also explore the connection between self-love and branding and how you can leverage publicity to elevate your visibility and credibility. So stay with us. And if you're ready to take your personal brand to the next level and build a dream career. Welcome, Amber. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Maria. I'm excited to connect with you and your audience. And what a setup. We have a lot to get through today. I feel like it's going to be a powerful conversation. And I love what you spoke about at the start about encouraging resiliency, as I'm sure your listeners will hear during our conversation. I have a very resilient-based story, so I'm excited to share that with your audience as well.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to get started. So you're right. We have a lot to cover. So let's start by asking you to explain the fundamentals of personal branding and why it's so essential in today's business landscape.
So I come at personal branding from a you first perspective, which is a little bit different from how a lot of us have been taught about personal branding. My background is in the fashion industry. I used to be a celebrity stylist and fashion editor. And when I was working with celebrities, even D-grade celebrities, when I put them in the most incredible clothing that really suited their skin tone and created a real signature style for them, they went from elevating their brand from being a D-level celebrity to a B-level, C-level, and eventually A-level. And whilst that all sounds great, being an A-level celebrity, what happened was the roll-on effect is that they got better jobs, became better networked, increased their salaries that they were making within their jobs. So for me, this had a very powerful effect on how I understood personal branding and how I now teach personal branding throughout everyone, whether that's an employee who's wanting to raise up the corporate ladder or someone who's wanting to make the transition out of corporate and potentially become either a consultant or a freelancer or their own personal brand.
I love that. It's amazing how that, clothes can make the person, right? It's how we feel. It's how we feel.
Yeah, I love what you said there, because a lot of the personal branding and the confidence that we do need in the corporate environment does actually come from how we're showing up and how we're showing ourselves in the corporate world. So I know with a lot of females, we have a lot of trouble being seen and heard, and how that can show up in the workplace is maybe we're not sticking our hand up during the important meeting, or maybe when it's time to ask for that raise, we're sitting back and we're not actually presenting our case forward. Yeah. So there are so many ways that you can hack that, if you will, in the corporate world by really just showcasing yourself as an extremely well put together person. And I'm not talking about buying expensive clothing or making sure you're following the latest trend. I'm talking about wearing the things that really suit you. So creating a signature style and showing up in that way that makes you feel confident every single day. So we all know that time that we were wearing that dress or that outfit, maybe going to a friend's wedding or an outing, and we got so many compliments that day. When we were in that room, everyone wanted to know who we were. People would come up to us and say, tell me about yourself. Who are you? What do you stand for? So this is the power of showing up in your best signature style and showing up in a really powerful personal brand. And to me, I really believe this is something that we can all achieve every day. I don't think we should be saving that fabulous outfit that makes us look and feel confident for that one special occasion.
Right.
I think, well, why don't we figure out a way to incorporate a little piece of that in every single day, or at least in those days where we may have an important meeting at work or an important presentation or a scary meeting that we're not feeling confident about.
Or just need to lift ourselves up a little bit, right? Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm not feeling, 100%. But if I take the time just to put myself together again, or in the morning, the way I want to feel, the way I want to show up, it makes me feel better.
And it has a ripple effect for the rest of your day. And often as women, we don't spend that time because we've got the kids to manage, we've got the husband to get out the door, we've got lunches to make, and we're the last ones. We're often the last one to throw on something and slap on a pair of shoes and run out the door we go. Yeah. But if we do take that priority, we spoke about how we're going to talk about self-love, so let's dive into that. Getting dressed beautifully every morning, and it may just be putting on the fancy underwear, or it may just be putting on the earrings that you save for the fancy occasion. These aren't exactly day earrings, but I felt like wearing them. I wanted to be fabulous for you today, Maria. So I thought, well, I'm going to wear my fabulous earrings. And it could just be something as simple as that, that you throw on that just gives you a little bit of a pep each day.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so important for all of us to just think about how we want to be seen and to teach others how to treat us by the way we show up. So I'm loving this conversation. I want to get into your background a little bit, Amber, if we could. How did you make the transition from a civil engineer? You have to tell us a little bit about that, what you were doing, to an entrepreneur and a TV personality, and tell us what role personal branding played in your journey.
In fact, it had quite a huge role. As I look back in hindsight, I was actually implementing very powerful personal branding for the majority of my career transitions. So my first major transition was out of engineering. I used to be a civil engineer working on a construction site, building roads and bridges. In hindsight, I didn't know this at the time, but in hindsight, I used to look at, on Saturdays on the construction site, you didn't have to wear your work boots. You could just wear whatever you like. So on Saturdays, I would roll in a full glam with the hair and makeup done and a little kitten heel to a construction site, which is utterly ridiculous. But apparently that is how I used to roll back in those days. So I quit that job. I started a fashion label. That label started with me on a construction site. I made me on a sewing machine. I made 4 shirts the first week and we sold 4 shirts. I made 8 shirts the next week and we sold 8 shirts. And then 5 years later, I had 120 accounts around Australia, around the world. I exported to Paris, Tokyo, LA, and South Africa and dressed some of the biggest celebrities in the time, which back in the day was Paris Hilton. And so that is a funny story because she was probably the first person that really understood the power of personal brand. So this was back when she was sort of the original influencer. She was doing the Simple Life TV, and she was sort of the only person getting a lot of that real intentional celebrity press. Like, she was everywhere. And we had a meeting with her in her hotel room. I was a young girl with my collection hanging up on the racks. And she said to us, I'll take your collection back to LA and I'll wear the collection and everyone will want to wear your collection after I wear it. I thought, wow, you're really onto something. She was getting it long before anyone else did. So that was my first sort of understanding of the power of a personal brand. If she wore something, our collection would sell out. We all know that that's a thing these days, but this was 20 years ago. And that business was something I thought that I would have forever, Maria. It was my dream business. I loved it. I thought it was what I was going to do till the rest of, till the day I die. But the universe had bigger plans for me. My manufacturer went out of business, which caused me to go out of business. And at that point, I'd been working 7 days a week for about 5 years straight. And I had a nervous breakdown on the side of a highway. I had to go to hospital and realize that I'd basically worked myself to death. I had stomach ulcers, I had cancer, I had to get on anti-anxiety and antidepressant tablets, and I was hospitalized for a very long time and in a very, very bad place, both physically and mentally, for quite a while after that. So that was my first transition into entrepreneur life, and I swore I would never start another business ever again. I went and got a very cushy job as a career recruiter. So I was recruiting engineers. So I started applying for engineering jobs. I couldn't get an engineering job, but they got me in to recruit engineers. So in this role, and I spent about 12 months in this very corporate role, inner city role. And again, I understood the power of personal branding because I rocked up to the office wearing things like this. If you're watching me on camera, I've got quite a loud, vibrant, over-the-top blouse on, silky satiny blouse and very loud earrings. And this is what I wore to the very corporate office. And that's what I thought was acceptable. And so my boss and all of the other women in the site were wearing navy blue button-down suits and a collared shirt underneath and long knee-length skirts. And I would roll in with like a feathered skirt that went to the floor and, glitter heels, which again is utterly ridiculous. But what it did is it inspired all of the women in that office to suddenly take an interest in how they were showing up. So it was interesting to watch because in the first week, I showed up and this is what I was wearing, and I was comfortable wearing my bright, outrageous, fashion-y stuff because I'd been in the fashion industry for 7 years. This is what we wore. And in the first couple of weeks, everyone was quite shocked that this new girl is rolling into the office looking like that. And over a period of, say, probably about 3 to 4 months, all of the other women started having a bit more excitement in their clothing. They would go shopping on Friday lunchtime, come back in a fabulous dress. They would all buy these beautiful, bright colored shoes. They would wear their bright lippies. They would wear their earrings. And they all started to have a bit of camaraderie and excitement around how they were showing up. And it really did elevate all of the women in that office to show up how they felt comfortable, to give themselves more confidence in how they were showing up, how their appearance was. So that was a very interesting experience for me to witness that one person could influence the entire workforce. And this was something that really had a huge influence on, again, understanding the power of personal branding. So I actually got fired from that job. I'm a terrible employee, despite looking fabulous. And I started my second business, which was a personal styling consultation business. So I was doing one-on-one consulting. And again, I started that business with no contacts. I'd moved to a new city. I had no networks. I had no clue. I'd never done this job before. I just changed my email signature to read stylist, and then I figured it out from there. But again, I really presented myself as an A-list personal brand. So I would, again, show up to my jobs looking like I was a superstar. I started contacting D-list celebrities saying, hey, can I dress you for D-list events? And again, I started realizing that if I just presented myself in a certain way, if I showed up in a certain way, then people would treat me differently. So this is what started happening. So not long after I started in that business, 3 years in, I got 2 of the best contracts in the country. I was the fashion editor at Women's Health and Fitness and the resident stylist at our biggest radio and TV network. And then off the back of doing all the celebrity work, I got asked to be the TV presenter at Fashion TV. So again, it was just realizing that if I acted and dressed and showed up as though I deserved to be on TV, then look at what happened. It sort of had this flow-on effect that ended up what was happening. So that was my second business. Pretty incredible.
Pretty incredible is right. I mean, that is a journey, and I know you're not done yet, but I just wanted to say that this is such a case study for anyone listening who wants something more. It doesn't mean that we all have to be on TV. It doesn't mean we all have to glam ourselves up if that's not who we are, right? But what I'm getting from this is deciding how we want to show up so that other people, so we have credibility, so we are authentic, so we are, as I said earlier, kind of teaching people how to treat us because of how we show up. That's what I'm getting from this.
So we all know, I mean, we are judgmental creatures. We're human beings. We're born to be judgmental, even if we say that we're not. But we know if we're flicking through social media, we have made a decision on someone within the first 3 seconds of seeing them. So what do we learn in the first 3 seconds of looking at someone as we flick past their social media? Do we understand what they stand for? Do we learn about their values? Have we understood what their education is, what their meaning is in life? No, we've made an opinion based on how they've shown up. We've decided what we think about them within the first 3 seconds, and we've made our decision based on that.
Right.
So I'm all about hacking that 3-second rule in every room that I go into.
I love that. Hacking the 3-second rule. All right, finish your story. I want you to finish your story.
Thank you. So that was my second business. Again, I thought I would have this business forever. I was living my best fashionista life. But again, the universe had greater plans, and I lost all of my contracts in the space of about a 1-month period. I was unemployed and unemployable. I tried to go back to the construction site. They did not want to take me. And once again, I was left with nothing but the knowledge and the resilience of knowing that I needed to create something with my life, and I wasn't going to let this stop me. Let's be clear, I did let it stop me for about a 6-month period. I had an extremely depressive state for about 6 months, had a very hard time getting out of bed for a lot of those months. So let's be very realistic about what that looks like in life. And then following that, my brother said, you need to create an e-course. This was back in 2015. E-courses weren't really a thing back then. And I created the very first fashion styling course online. So that course made 6 figures in the first year, and it makes 6 figures every year since then, on autopilot, on repeat every year. And that's the first time that I realized I can actually create something that utilizes all of the gifts that I've been given. My engineering, my fashion, all of the creativity, everything was finally utilized in this business. And I replicated it. My second course was on personal branding and publicity, because I was watching these female entrepreneurs who were so incredibly intelligent, and they were speaking on stages and hosting webinars. And I remember watching them going, the words that you're saying are very clever, but for some reason, I'm not buying you. I don't want to buy your program. I don't want to join your mastermind. I'm not engaged with what you're presenting. And it was only later on that I found the study by Dr. Albert Morabian that talks about the 3 models of communication. So the first model of communication, there's actually 3 parts to every communication message. The first part, the 7%, is the words, what we're actually saying. The second part, the 38%, is the quality of our voice, our speech and grammar. And the largest part, the 55%, is our body language and nonverbal cues, things like how we're showing up, how we're moving our body. So again, this is incredible to me, because all of us spend all of our time focusing on the 7% and not a lot of time focusing on quality of voice, speech and grammar, body language, these sorts of things. And again, all of these things are learnable. You can study, which I'm sure you perhaps have, Maria. I know when I was a TV presenter, I took a lot of tone of voice classes to learn how to elocute correctly. I think that's the correct word. So that was my second course, was personal branding and publicity. Third course was mindset, because obviously I've overcome quite a lot of hardship in my life. And I finally realized that I was very good at creating courses. So I taught a course about courses, and now I have a done for you course creation agency where we help experts create courses as well. So that's the journey.
Wow. Yeah. I thank you for sharing, reminding us about the truth about communication, and that there are we focus so much on the words we say and not so much in how we say them, or how we show up in saying them. Yeah, that's a really that's a powerful reminder for us, especially in this social media world that we are in. Yeah.
And it's so learnable. So I trained to learn how to speak and how to present. And we look at our favorite, go and look at your favorite politician and your favorite TV host. You think that they're just sitting up there and speaking?
That they do it naturally, right?
Correct. No, they've had training. Yeah. They use their fingers in a certain way. They pronounce certain words slowly or deeply. There's a whole science behind it, which is absolutely teachable.
Yeah, yeah.
And as women, I know a lot of women have a hard time with their voice. They don't like how they sound. You can train your voice to not sound like that. You can do a whole lot of exercises so that you can deepen your voice and not have whatever you think is not, I think a lot of women have a thing with their own voice, but there's ways to train that out of you.
Right. And a lot of people think that then when they do that, then they're not being authentic. That it's really not me. Right? That's not the way I speak. I want to speak the way I speak. Then do.
Then do.
Then
yeah.
do just that. But speak so that you can be understood. And so I can't tell you how many times recently I have had to say to someone who I'm speaking with on the phone, please slow down because I can't understand you. They're speaking so rapidly that, they're not enunciating their words and I'm missing it. And that happens a lot with people today. Everything is so fast that they speak at the same speed. And it's hard to understand.
And that's a great technique if you're in a corporate environment, perhaps giving a presentation or needing to get your point across, and you're feeling really nervous, which often could be the case if it's a difficult conversation. Even just taking a pause and slowing down makes you seem like you're more confident, makes you seem like you're more credible, makes it seem like you know what you're talking about. The quickest way to undermine your credibility is by talking really fast and acting like you don't really know what you're talking about, because immediately people have that reaction to think, oh, she obviously doesn't know what she's talking about, or she's very nervous. Look how fast she's speaking.
Right. She's nervous, so I don't believe her.
Correct. Yes.
Those judgments that pop up, right? So it's important that we take the time to train ourselves to present whatever it is. I mean, it could be a conversation like you and I are having today. We have a bunch of people who are eavesdropping on this conversation. And it's important that they understand us, that they can understand the words we're saying, that they get the meaning behind them, that they feel the passion that we have about this topic, that they understand the journey you went through and are, if they are anything like me, a bit incredulous about the fact that you, looking at you today, wore a hard hat on a construction site and then tried to get back to it and they wouldn't have you. I love that part of the story. But I'm connecting with you, and everyone that's listening to us or watching us has the opportunity to connect with us if what we are saying is understandable and they kind of like who we are, how we're showing up.
And that's our responsibility.
Yeah.
So as the speakers, it's our responsibility to make sure that people are connecting with us. So it's not up to them as to whether they are, it's our responsibility. So again, I like to take that responsibility on board and work on it, improve on it.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned something early on that I'd love to touch on again. Creating a signature style. How critical is that for us to do? And let's talk about a signature style because it's different for everyone. Let's talk about that.
That's right. So a signature style is a style that you will become known for, but it's something that you eventually work on. So I like to start with dressing for your body shape and your skin tone. These are the two easiest ways for every woman to save so many of the issues that I've seen with women when they're trying to find clothes. So if you dress in the right colors for your skin tone, you will always look bright, you will always look vibrant, you will always look awake. If you dress in the wrong colors for your skin tone, you'll always look tired. You will always look like you have dark eyes under your dark bags under your eyes. There's a very simple trick that I can try to convey on a podcast that people can do at the end of the podcast. That's sort of the simplest way to decide if you have a warm or a cool skin tone. And that is to go and get a piece of charcoal or gray fabric and a piece of beige, or I think you guys call it khaki fabric, and go and stand in front of a natural light, so a window, with your camera in front of you, and flip your camera over so you can see the fabric up against your skin. Then you're going to hold each piece of fabric up against your face when you have no makeup on, and you have a look at the difference in your appearance. One of these colors, either the gray or the beige, is going to make you look vibrant, like your skin is glowing, like your teeth are white, like your eyes are bright, like your lips are pink. You'll look flawless. The other color will make you look like you have pimples, like you have uneven skin tone, like you have bags under your eyes. Your teeth will look yellow, your lips will look yellow. So this is the difference between the two shades. So if you have a vibrancy when you have the gray color in front of your skin, then you have a cool skin tone. And if the warmer shade, the beige, makes you look vibrant, then you have a warm skin tone. So that's a very simple, foolproof way of figuring out your warm or cool skin tones. And then the easiest way when you go shopping, because I know a lot of women have a lot of overwhelm when they walk into like a big department store and they don't even know where to begin when they're shopping, is you just shop the colors that are right for you. So when I stand on a shopping floor in a department store, I can immediately see within one glance that about a half of the store is already not right for me. So I don't even have to wander around. I can pick and choose very easily. So it reduces a lot of that overwhelm when it comes to shopping. And it means that my entire wardrobe matches. So you know how you may have things in your wardrobe that you just can't seem to figure out how it goes with anything else in the wardrobe. A lot of the time, that's because it's the wrong tone. So to give you a quick brief overview, if you have the cool skin tone that works for you, your best colors are cool, clear, bright colors of the rainbow. So blue, red, pink, black, white, very basic primary colors. If you have a warm skin tone, the easiest way to explain this is the colors that might have two names. So like if I was to hold a maroon shirt up to you, you might call it maroon, you might call it deep red, you might call it burnt, something else. If I had a salmon colored shirt, you might call it salmon, you might call it peach, you might call it burnt orange. They're colors by many, many names, so hard to identify. Whereas if you look at the shirt that I'm wearing today, for anyone who's watching us on the camera, everyone knows this is red. So that's sort of the easiest way to understand, just off a very simple way for everyone to take home today, to understand your best colors. So once you know your best colors, stick to the colors that suit you, and then figure out your body shape and just buy the clothes that suit you. And again, this is a simplified version that we can sort of only, touch on in a podcast. But once you understand your body shape and your skin tone, you can never buy anything that doesn't suit you ever again. All of the clothes in your wardrobe start working for you, and you do eventually end up getting a bit of a signature style because there are only a certain number of shapes and colors that suit you. So for me, for instance, I have an hourglass body shape and a cool skin tone. So the outfits that I've naturally gravitated towards, because they're the ones that suit me the best, are really bright colored feminine dresses. And that's what works for me. There are so many trendy styles out there at the moment, like that minimalist, effortless sort of, pared down chic look. I can't wear them. They do not suit me. I look terrible in them. I look frumpy. But if you put me in a bright fitted dress, I look amazing. So inevitably, I've developed a signature style, a style that makes me look great. It makes me feel great. I look great in it. I feel confident and comfortable in it. And that's a way to start developing your signature style. So that's your overall signature style, but you could also just do it with a little bit of an accessory. So maybe you love a glam earring. Maybe you're all about a fabulous shoe. Anything that just makes you look and feel fabulous each day, that everyone will eventually go, she's the girl with the great shoes. I love it when she wears those shoes. She comes to every meeting with the great shoes on. So this is some ways to start thinking about how you might want to incorporate a signature style into your corporate life.
Wow, that's just so full of great stuff. I love what you said about walking into a store, knowing what your tone is, and half the store is not for you. That is such a great tip that I've never thought of it that way before.
It reduces the overwhelm because, that's overwhelming for everyone. And we're all very busy people. We can't afford to go and try all these things on. So that's one simple way to reduce a lot of that noise.
Yeah. And, I think the important thing here is for you to decide how you want to show up, what you want your style to be. And as long as you are working within what's well suited for you based on tone and shape, then you're right. You can never put yourself together badly. You'll never show up not feeling great about yourself because you look fabulous.
I love what you've said there about deciding to be intentional with your appearance. When we were younger women, before we had families and babies, we were intentional. We all wanted to wear the latest outfit and we knew what the trends were and we read the magazines. But often once we have families, we're the last person to get dressed or to even buy anything for ourselves. When I was a stylist, the majority of my clients were coming out of raising their kids. So the kids were now teenagers, they were self-sufficient, and the mum is going, I haven't looked in a mirror for 15 years. I haven't bought myself a dress for 15 years. What do I wear? That was the majority of my clients. And with a simple, like you said, being intentional about it, setting time aside about it, learning about it. Your audience is obviously very smart, very educated. You can go and learn about these things and be intentional about saying, well, I'm going to develop a signature style, which means going back to that self-love. I'm going to put me first for a change. I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to dedicate time and money and energy to making sure that I look and feel good, which really is what you said, setting the intention to put yourself first.
And deciding what feels good to you. So not everyone, whether they have the body type or not, feels good, myself included, in a fitted dress. I'm not a dress girl. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So that would not work for me. And I would not feel good in that.
Mm-hmm.
So deciding what your style is and deciding that you want to show up in a different way, that's really where it starts. It's being aware of how you feel about your style. If you have one, you don't. And figuring out how you want, going through some of the tips, the great tips you shared with how to figure out, are you cool? Are you warm? What are the colors that work best for you? What do you feel good in? And then go ahead.
Well, a lot of the times we inherently know. So we know we've got that dress or that outfit that we've worn that one time, that everyone gave us the compliment. So we know that whenever we wear that color top, everyone says we look great today. Or they ask, have your hair done? And you think, well, no, I haven't. So we all have that thing in our wardrobe. So just go and do a quick wardrobe assessment after the podcast and start drawing some parallels and some patterns around what does actually make me feel good, because they're the things typically that will suit you.
Right. It has a lot to do with it. And the self-love aspect of it, putting ourselves first, because when we do that, when we feel good about who we are, everyone around us benefits. It's funny how that works, huh?
Totally.
Everyone around us benefits. So figuring out what it is we want for ourselves, to feel good about ourselves, to have confidence in ourselves. When all of that kind of falls into place, I think the how people treat us changes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think?
Well, we've all been in the rooms where, think about the last crowded room, say a party or a conference or a room with a bunch of strangers. So you didn't know anyone in that room. And as you scan that room, think about the subtle, internal, non-judgy, but judgments that we made about the people in the room. Was there one woman in that room that was so well put together that you thought to yourself, I want to know what she has to say. I want to
Yeah,
know what she's all about. And that's how we engage as humans. You know, this is
yeah,
how we've been raised to interact. So I always just think, well, let me take advantage of that.
yeah, yeah. Love that point. I was just thinking of how many networking opportunities I have been involved with, and been that person just eyeing the room, looking for somebody really interesting who
Yeah.
appeared to be really interesting to talk to.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
that's how we made the first decision. Whether they were interesting or not is another
that
conversation.
remains to be seen, right?
Yep.
And then we make another judgment after
Yes.
we've
Yes.
yeah, communicated with them, though.
Correct. And I guess
Uh,
that is that is actually a fair point, because are we going to go and have a conversation with that woman, or are we going to go, oh, well, she's this and that? You know, are we making judgments based on her being too well put together or too well dressed or too, having too much makeup on, which is another sort of subtle social, interesting demographic that I always think about as well. But I like to think that everyone who is putting themselves together has put in a little bit of effort. And I think that effort is important in this world. So whenever I've seen someone, whether in my professional celebrity stylist opinion, have they got it right or wrong, I always think, well, you've put in a bit of effort. You've tried to present yourself in a way that really reflects you. So I'm going to go and have a conversation with you. I want to know about, what you stand for.
right. And there's the flip side of that too. When we scan that room and we see a woman dressed like that, and we think she's well put together, I'm sure she stands for something really great, but I'm
Exactly.
not feeling very confident about myself. Why would she want to talk to me? So,
Yeah,
right? So that's the flip side of that judgment, and we're turning the judgment on ourselves.
exactly. But then that's a story that we're telling about someone else within our own head.
That's right.
And we made a judgment about her without knowing what she's thinking or feeling in her own head. So
Right.
really, we are the ones that are making the judgment without even knowing what's going on with her.
Right.
So that's
And uh, uh, we may be, um, what's the word I want? What we are, I am struggling with this word, obviously. We are ridding ourselves, that's not the right one, but of an opportunity. What's the word
mhm,
I'm trying to think of?
depriving.
Depriving, thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Depriving ourselves of an opportunity potentially of making a great connection with someone,
Mhm.
just because of the head trash that's going on, the trash talk that we're doing in our head. Yeah, that's we got to watch out for that too, and
Yeah.
that's the
Well,
self love piece.
that's the self-love piece. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So are there any, I know we don't want to be trendy if that's not our style, but are there any emerging trends in personal branding that we should know about?
I'm trying to think if there's anything related to the corporate world. Back when I was corporate, my mantra was to get everyone out of those very masculine suits and to have them dressing like women. So I was very anti the navy blue pantsuit, although I'm sure a lot of your audience is currently wearing a navy blue pantsuit whilst listening to us. I found that to be a very masculine way of showing up. And why would you want to compete with the men in their own domain? The rooms that I was always in, let's be clear, I was always in a very masculine corporate role. So engineers to recruitment was the big guys in the recruitment were all masculine men. So my experience of corporate is, looking at the men and going, oh, well, I want to be different from them. So
Yeah.
In terms of trends, I am not trendy. Let's be clear, Maria. I do not follow trends. I am not a trendy person. None of the clothes that I wear are trendy. I do think, though, that they are statement pieces that I guess show my personality, and that's why I love to wear them, because they're often talked about. I will often start a conversation by an outfit that I'm wearing, and then I've made a new network, I've made a new contact. And so that's how I like to think about trends.
I love that. So the trend really is to be you. Just figure out who that is.
Yeah, and that's it. Just figure out, spend some time intentionally working towards a look, an appearance, a style that actually suits you, that you love. I mean, we all spend money at the hairdresser every month, but yet we often don't spend money hiring a stylist, learning about personal branding, learning about colors, learning about body shape. Whereas this, what we're wearing every day has a huge impact on our appearance and our well-being and our confidence. And we all know when we're feeling really good about ourselves, how the world engages with us, how we engage with the world. And don't you just want to have that experience every single day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a goal. That's a great goal to have. Feeling good about ourselves every day. And I think it starts with figuring out there's a lot of self-discovery work that has to go on first before you even go into the stores and look for your cool or your warm. But really getting to know who you are, what matters most. This is the work I do with my clients all the time. What matters most to you now. And as things change and we change, we evolve. All of this evolves too. All of it. Our styles might change, right? I was in corporate for 30 years in male-dominated industries. I did wear those navy blue suits for a while until I figured out who I wanted to show up as. And then when I left corporate, everything changed. My style changed. It got much less corporate and more fun, quite honestly. So I get to wear these kinds of clothes now.
And you look fabulous.
Oh, thank you. But it's all figuring out who am I now as things change.
And giving yourself the permission to invest in that.
Yes.
But
and get
time,
really
money.
curious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And some of it is, a bit of a risk, right? I think I'll try this for a while and then feel, it doesn't really fit. It doesn't feel like it fits. And then try something else. I love this conversation, Amber. I'm going to ask you to just kind of wrap this up in a bow for us. What are some of the key takeaways from today's conversation?
Developing a signature style will have a huge impact on your credibility, on your confidence, how you're showing up in the world, and in the corporate world will eventually lead to pay rises, better employment opportunities, better networks, which hopefully will lead to things like this, speaking engagements, being invited onto panels, hopefully getting onto boards if that's what you're passionate about. So figuring out how you're showing up in the corporate environment by way of signature style and personal brand, remembering those communication tips that we spoke of. 7% is the words, 38% is the quality of your voice, speech and grammar, and 55% nonverbal cues, your things like body language. All of that is learnable, trainable, studyable, all words like that. So you can go and take programs within that. You can watch YouTube videos of it. There's probably a lot of content that you could just watch for free. Invest in yourself, learn some tools around showing up powerfully in the corporate world, and watch how it has a flow-on effect, as you heard from me, for all the women in your environment, and watch how you're able to feel more confident in those situations that might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, like the difficult meetings, difficult presentations.
Love that. That was a great wrap up. Thank you so much, so much. I know that there are going to be women who just want to reach out to you and learn more about you. What's the one best way for them to do that?
So there's a link below that'll take you to a personal branding masterclass. And I think that's probably the best way for everyone to get involved deeper in the work that we've spoken about today. If you're on Instagram, come and find me and tell me you found me on Maria's podcast.
Oh, I love that. That's a great idea. Amber, thank you so much for being here. I know it's very early in the morning in Australia, but I really appreciate your being here with us today and sharing your brilliance. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Maria.
And for those of you who are watching and listening, I appreciate that you're a part of this community. So if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, leave a comment, pick a star, and share it. Creating and sharing resources for women is just one of my favorite things to do. And another favorite thing is being a career and life coach for women navigating challenging times and helping them get unstuck and explore new possibilities and find harmony in their careers and lives. So if something in this episode resonates with you and you'd like a fresh perspective, reach out. The links below for Amber and me are in the show notes. So yeah, let's talk. And then let's meet again here next Thursday. Same time, same place, 10 a.m. Pacific time for another inspiring conversation. Because you know what? I believe it's our time to thrive. So let's thrive together. Till next time, I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, helping you turn transition into triumph.